The effectiveness of water travel was obvious, but railroads? Building expensive tracks so that a tiny steam engine on its side could pull carriages of people and small loads of goods? Like most great ideas, it had to start slowly by visionaries and make continued progress. By the mid-1820s, progress was being made in England, but would it happen in the US? Yes. New York's first railroad was a cooperative venture with the Erie Canal because it allowed Erie passengers to bypass the Cohoes Falls, a short 16 miles. It was incorporated in 1826 and opened in 1831. The first locomotive was a DeWitt Clinton, which was built in the U.S. by the West Point Foundry. Americans were making industrial progress. Baltimore, businesses had access to the East Coast, but not the interior. Competing into the West would require a railroad. The solution was the Baltimore and Ohio, the B&O, which was chartered by Maryland in 1827. Baltimore merchants projected they could build a railroad track to the Ohio River at Wheeling, now in West Virginia, in 10 years at a cost of $5 million. They built it, but at a cost of $15 million, and it took 25 years. A different structure was the Mine Hill and Schuylkill Haven Railroad, chartered in 1828 to haul coal from Pennsylvania mines to the Schuylkill Canal. The Mine Hill built track and initially used livestock to move the coal. Coal was used to operate locomotives, but the locomotives came later. The same was true of the B&O. The first locomotives there came in the 1830s from Britain. Philadelphia inventor and manufacturer Matthias Baldwin set up a machine shop in 1825 and built his first steam engine in 1828, which is now in the Smithsonian. Baldwin's first locomotive was finished in 1831. The first commissioned locomotive, called Old Ironsides, was built in 1832 with a stellar top speed of 28 miles an hour. Contracts increased, and by 1838, Baldwin had produced 122 steam locomotives. At that time, there were a total 350 locomotives in the United States. Given the availability of the Ohio and Mississippi rivers, most people and goods traveled by water. Trade goods could be transported by cheap flatboat to New Orleans, aided by river currents. Getting back was a problem. The solution was a steamboat network that started with Robert Fulton using Boulton and Watt low-pressure engines and his 1811 franchise from Louisiana, allowing him to steam some 2,000 miles from Pittsburgh to New Orleans. When Fulton lost his franchise in court, his company was joined by over 30 steamboats by 1819. These used faster, high-pressure engines built in the U.S., which were more efficient but had the nasty tendency of blowing up. Western farmers went on a rural industrial path, toiling at both farming and factory work. Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, and Louisville were the booming western cities of the time, using steam engines to power industry, later joined by Chicago, also accessible by water. Iron and coal industries were mainly in Ohio and Pennsylvania, with towns having foundries, forges, rolling mills, and machine shops. With the help of railroads, the western cities connected to the East Coast. Transportation and trade were the driving forces for migrating populations and the success of soon-to-be major cities. More steamboats meant towns on the water got bigger and more successful. Railroads meant rapid transportation could go anywhere, but preferably on flat ground. Early on, railroads were short affairs, using any type of track and rail width. That was inefficient, and railroads got bigger, found more capital, and gobbled up small lines. It was food, food, and more food, plus all the industries spun off from food. Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, and Louisville became major success stories. There was fertile land for crops and livestock, rivers and lakes for transport, and migrants willing to work hard as farmer and industry laborers. Cities became known for food specialties like Cincinnati and Chicago. But why? Find out next time on Food History and Mystery.